Please rise. And now to honor America, please join in the singing of our national anthem. Representing the three-time Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils, Arlette.
I feel like I'm at a game. Oh my gosh. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Happy Devils. Corey Schneider gets another win Sunday.
Oh, quiet.
It's because I'm not in the bunker studio. Beer Baron, this is the Let's Go Devils podcast, season 2, episode 25. The show title is Martial Law. Reason why? Because we got the infamous Grant Marshall back on the podcast for a record 4th time. 4 times he's been on the podcast. He's a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. 3 times he's been in the Stanley Cup finals. Great guy. He's going to be on the podcast in about 10-15 minutes. I am here with Beer Baron and Scotty. I am your host, Sam Woo. And this podcast is presented by Mother's Ale House. Mother's Ale House, you can go watch any of the Devils games on 95 Mountain View Boulevard in beautiful Wayne, New Jersey, where we're going to be with Grant Marshall on March 2nd for a live viewing party, live pregame podcast. I know Beer Baron's excited. Shorts Guy's so excited that we couldn't settle him down, that we had to bump him off and bring in our boy Scotty from LA. That's how pumped up we are. We're giving away prizes. We're giving out swag. We also have another Brian Boyle poster to give away at the event. And if I can get my hands on those David Putty bobbleheads, we may give them away. But you have to go to the event. You have to go to the event. You got to follow the rules. You got to enter the contest. Because why? Because we said so. But hey, guys, great 4-1 victory over the Buffalo Sabres. It's so nice to see Corey Schneider win 2 in a row. I know everyone's talking about tanking. I joke about it. What the heck is Corey winning now for? Honestly, this team needs to have that winning attitude through and through. You just don't tank and just get a good player. It's a culture of winning. Even in culture of winning, there are struggles. The Devils have been through the struggles 2 in a row. Corey, last game, comes in relief, 4-1. You think they're down and out. Bad road trip. Bam, they win. Tonight, 4-1 victory over the Buffalo Sabres. Great victory. Guys, I'm going to turn over the podcast to you guys because I have to stay a little bit quiet here, but also going to try to get Grant on the phone, so I'm going to switch you guys over.
It's like awesome. It's like doing a podcast from don't mom and dad are in the other room. You can't don't curse. Don't say anything bad.
It's a no fun zone.
Oh my God! Yeah. So Devils Corey Schneider back-to-back wins, 50 shots on goal in the last 2 appearances, including that coming in for Keith Kincaid and tonight's game, and he saved 49 out of 50 shots. So if that kind of sheds some light on how this season's going or how his last 2 games are going, this might be a turning point for him. It could be a turning point for the team. But here's the question, Scotty: is this what we want? Is this what we want to happen?
Yes, absolutely. This is what should be happening. Ray should be calling every single GM that might need a goalie right now and being like, "Hey, you see that? He's back. He's back, baby. Look at those saves. You see that glove save today? He's going down, doing the splits."
I love that you think Ray Shero sounds like a typecasted New York City cab driver in any bad movie that you've ever seen. Hey, you see this freaking guy? He's got
guy over here.
He's got the.
You see these friggin' saves? Yay! Oh, but that's what he needs to be doing. We right now. Don't worry about the tanking thing. We'll have plenty of time to do that in the last, month or two, March and April. Right now, we need to win. Everybody on this team, in my mind, it can be had. If maybe Ed, okay. Even Nico for like something crazy. It'd have to be something crazy. But every other person on this team, right now, please. If Edmonton called us up again and said, "Hey, we're dangling McDavid out there," you're telling me you wouldn't do that?
Okay, first of all, you live in La La Land. If you think that they would first, and they also fired their previous GM Chirelli, so I'm just saying. I know. In the grand spectrum sort of things. Yes, in the grand spectrum sort of thing. I would put him, me personally, as like an untouchable, the only one, But in reality, I think we should have an open mind and everything. And we need Johansson to keep scoring because either we're going to trade him or we're going to re-sign him. So we need him to get on the hot streak. Anything we can get for, Kincaid, all these guys, if they perform well, maybe we can flip them for something at the deadline, because that's where this season is at. It's a lost season. We all get that. We all understand it. Mm-hmm. There have been some positives like Blake Coleman coming along. It did seem like Zaka was taking some steps in the right direction recently. Which is nice. Every goal he scores is a career high.
That's very true, but it's I've seen improvements, from him over the past. He's not missing from the game anymore. Like, that he's playing. Earlier in the season, it was like, oh, what line is he on? Was he scratched today? I don't know what's going on. Now he's making plays. What's up?
He's really becoming a solid two-way forward. His defensive game has been pretty on point this year, and on the PK, he's been really good. So, the scoring, you knew that the kid had too much talent, especially, coming into the NHL. He had way too much talent to be, underperforming to what he was doing. But that's not like a surprise because there's a lot of guys that come into the NHL that, were huge prospects that don't really pan out. Let's just hope that this is, part of his game is developing and he's getting more and more comfortable with the NHL and the speed of the game and the physicality and everything else in the game. And that scoring touch is going to start to find its way. Honestly, you brought up a good point that everything everybody on the team should be, considered like up in the air. You know what I mean? Unless they have like a no trade clause or you're Nico Hischier. I personally don't think that's going to be Ray's kind of mentality, honestly, just because as a Devils fan, you always hear like you trust the process and all these kinds of things, but there is a process. There is something that he's trying to build, and he's trying to build using this young core. I think it's unfortunate because Johansson is, I think fits the mold of this team. I think he's a great key player. I feel like he could be, really beneficial going forward. But at the same time, I think he's going to, he's a UFA. There's no guarantee that he is going to sign back. Although recently he did say he thoroughly loves New Jersey and wants to stay here. But I think if you can get a second rounder for him, I mean, hell, they got a second rounder for Brian Boyle. If you can get a second rounder for Johansson, now you're starting to stockpile the cupboards, right? And this offseason is all about retooling and rebuilding. That's not saying you can't re-signing him again. And if you re-sign him and you got that second round pick for him, you could flip that second rounder for maybe trying to get a defensive prospect out of somebody else's hands, or find a team that's strapped for cap space and try to pry off a decent defenseman at top 5 or top 4.
Absolutely. I like Johansson and everything like that, but let's face it, his numbers aren't really that impressive in total wise. I know he's been putting up a little bit more lately, and that's great, and I love it. But overall, it hasn't been an impressive season by him. So I don't know what we're gonna do, because when I look at him and I look at Jesper Bratt, I kind of see a similar player, someone who's got a lot of speed, who's good with the puck, a little bit smaller, I feel like both of them are gonna look. I feel like both of them are going to look. Listen, Johansson's no, beast out there running people over either, But I feel both of them are going to look to pass before they're looking to shoot. They both got a nasty shot, but they always seem to be looking to pass. I don't know. That's why I always wish they kind of like split those two up. I feel like both of them need one of those. Like if you put, I don't know, maybe like sticking Palmieri with them, because Kyle, he likes to line that up and shoot, man.
That goal he's a chucker. Beaut. Yeah, it was a beaut tonight, man. Oh, and it was weird because when he scored, you could see the goaltender was like, "Damn it, I had that covered." You know what I mean? Like he's like, "I played the angle," and he put that in a spot that, the window is about this big, and he found a way to put the puck in there. I think he would be an untouchable.
I was just gonna say he'd be a very interesting story because, like Nico, I don't really I wouldn't want to trade him. If I was blown away by, a team offering me one of the, top, 5 players in the league, then yes, I would think about it. But the same thing with Palmieri, I would like him to be around for this rebuild, which I totally understand what Ray is doing, and I'm there. I think next year we're going to see a lot more improvement. Like we've talked about in previous podcasts, last year they overachieved by a lot. This year they're underachieving, but next year I think we're going to see some real progress in the team overall. But Palmieri is someone who could probably net a pretty good return. Is that something? That we, what if we get some stud, young rookie prospect that's in the NHL. Someone in the NHL now who's a rookie, really highly rated and like a draft pick for Palmieri. Is that something that they think about? I don't know. It's a tough one. Does Ray then maybe pry someone out on from defense as well and really sweeten the deal? I don't know. Yeah. But Palmieri is probably the person who would get the most return from our team right now.
I think he's so ingrained in this team. I mean, I know this is all hypothetical, so I don't want anybody to go crazy. Like Scotty came on here and was just talking about trading away Palmieri. You're not saying that you want to trade away Palmieri. What you're saying is just hypothetically speaking, who would get us the best return?
Here. Yeah, this is how you got to talk when you're a GM. Like everyone, we're fans. We have that fan. We love our players. We don't want to let go of them. GMs have to make those tough decisions of doing what's best for the team. Like Ray got blown away.
When they traded away Adam Henrique, that was like one of those things that nobody really wanted to see happen. And that's
I was so ready to get a 14 jersey. I hadn't got like an actual name, and since Kovalchuk, I was just like, no more. God. And I was ready. I was like, this is it. We're getting. I'm getting a Henrique, getting a 14, and then boom. And I was like, son of a. But anyway,
I'm happy Kenny Agostino picked up number 17. So hopefully he sticks with this team and plays pretty decent. Because then I can just take that 17 jersey and take that nameplate off and get a Agostino put on the back. I should just do that anyway, since the kid is from New Jersey and he actually played not too far. He's from Morristown, so he's not too far from where I live now. Which I think, and that's another thing too that
that's like an hour plus from where you live now. What are you talking about?
No, it's not. It's only a 35-minute drive to get to Morristown. Morristown's only a 35-minute drive. Trust me. My daughter was born at Morristown Memorial, or not Morristown Memorial. Whatever the hell the name of that, whatever, it doesn't matter. I know it only is a 45-minute drive.
Guys, I just want to cut in here. He actually is from Flanders, New Jersey, and it was actually somebody
closer.
And also Beer Baron and Scotty, and also it was actually a neighbor of somebody that I know, and I actually probably saw the kid. Yeah. Okay, let me get back to Colin Grant. Be right back. But I don't like Del Barton, but he gets a pass because he's a Jersey kid. Anyway.
Eric Burns in the group said, if you remember, Gretzky got traded, so that means anybody can be traded. And I think like we said, we're not on here saying like trade Nico. Like, I really don't personally want to see that happen. But if the return is going to be like, a top 5 player in the NHL, like if they're going to do some sort of swap like that, it's something you got to at least think about, for the team. Well, and that's the thing is you're rebuilding this team, and it depends because he's such a solid cornerstone to this team now, and not just like on the ice, off the ice also.
Yeah, I love Nico. Like I don't want.
Basically, like if you think about it, you have your core group now, and now you're trying to just build around it. And Taylor Hall seems like he's supposedly skating on his own. So that's great news. I mean, the thing about the season, and a lot of people are like, man, the season, blah, 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 and they lean it all on the goaltenders. There's been a lot of just fluctuations in the season where it's like, there's been a lot of guys called up from the AHL. It feels like it was a merry-go-round, for a little while. But awesome seeing Joe Anderson get a goal tonight after that poor kid broke his ankle in the beginning of the year and missed all that time. And then, he's finally back in the lineup. Even if empty netter, regardless, it was nice to see him get a goal. But
he worked hard. All game.
I love that kid. I really hope. I have such high hopes for him. I think he could be a true grinder, like a John Madden type of player, with maybe a little bit more upside. It's like you watch Coleman's season this year has been so much fun to watch, and you just see the little pieces that if everything falls into place, if Schneider can get back to form, and if he can start playing, like he was a couple years ago. And if everything starts to kind of fall into place, and then he leads the way for Blackwood, the future is bright for the team. It's just everything's got to go. So I just got a message from Sam that he's going to be jumping in. Hey Sam, look at that. I was like, I told the future.
Not on. Sorry, my mic's not on. I usually screw that up when I transition to our callers. It seems to happen quite often. So, we do have Grant on the Bobby's Auto Care hotline, but just before we get to Grant, I got to talk a little bit about Bobby's Auto Care. I was driving to Bobby's Auto Care to get an oil change the other day, and I was actually on Route 57 because Bobby's Auto Care is on 2151 Route 57, beautiful Washington, New Jersey. Big sponsor of the Let's Go Devils podcast. And anyway, I was passing Warren County Community College, and there's a big tank sitting outside near Bobby's Auto Care. Anyway, but visit Bobby's Auto Care at 2151 Route 57, beautiful Washington, New Jersey. On the Bobby's Auto Care hotline right now is the infamous Grant Marshall. Hey, Grant, you're with Sam, Scott, and Scotty. How are you doing?
We're good. We're good. How you guys doing? Good?
Doing good. Grant,
good.
Thanks for joining us.
So I'm glad to be on, guys. Thanks so much. You guys do a great job, as always.
So, Grant, tell us that story. What happened before the game? I didn't get to see that. We were talking off air.
I said a little snippet for you guys, but it was more. I just left I had to work the game before the game started, doing autograph signing and stuff, and meet with some fans, and then I left. But I was reading up and seeing a little clip of in the warm up of Gabriel and the Bogosian kind of jogging back and forth the red line back, and I think Bogosian was slashing Gabriel, and they were just jogging back and forth quite a bit. It actually looked like they were going to probably get into a fight, but I guess cooler heads kind of prevailed. But really, you could tell Gabriel was really under Bogosian's skin for quite a while.
You know, something I love, if you watched that game the other night where they were playing the Blues and Gabriel's out on the ice and him and Maroon were going after each other. I forget who the heck what it was, but was kind of, came over and was, I guess, said something to Gabriel. And at one point, Gabriel had Maroon in his left hand and grabbed the other player in his right hand and was jawing at both of them and trying to get both of them to go. He's kind of got that old-timey hockey sense about him.
He does. I like it, but the problem is nowadays that's pretty much non-existent now in the game, and I think he's just trying to put his stamp of what he is on the team and kind of be a presence as well, which I understand, and I think it's good on him. It's always tough when you don't get to play as much as you would like to, but I guess he's just trying to be as good a teammate as he can be and trying to be some kind of impact as much as possible.
So it looks like we're fastly approaching the trade deadline, and we were just kind of talking about this right before you came on about the possibility of some of the players that could be moving out. And you've had the experience of going from Columbus to New Jersey. What is it like for a player to be moved during the trade deadline? What is that experience like?
Well, I mean, I think it's a couple things where I guess every individual, every player is different mindset. But for me, I always felt as a pretty loyal guy, and I didn't want to get traded out of Columbus. We weren't a good team. I knew there was rumors of me going to a couple different places. New Jersey wasn't one of them. Actually, but it was one of those things where I didn't want to get traded, but I also knew that it's part of the game, and a door closes in one spot and it opens up in another, and you just got to make the best of it. At the end of the day, our job is to be a professional hockey player and do the best we can in our role, and whatever jersey that is, and then you play as hard as you can for that jersey, for that city. Like I said, I didn't want to leave Columbus, but it is what it was, and. It worked out that, at the deadline getting traded in Jersey and winning the cup. So it ended up being the ultimate win for me, so to speak. But it's everyone's different. Some guys just want to get out of the city that they're in. They're just not happy for whatever reason, which is, it happens. For me, I make the best of any situation. I just love playing the game, and I love playing for my teammates and for the city. So, it was just it worked out where I was able to win the cup that year.
Hey, Grant, when you came to the Devils and you did win that cup, as fans, we've been talking a lot about, Coach Hines, because he's been, racking up some wins with the team and some longevity. And I feel like we talk about Jacques Lemaire a lot, but someone you played for, maybe we don't talk about as much, and that's Pat Burns. And I was just wondering, what your take was, playing for a coach like Pat Burns. I know you had Hitchcock as well, but, Pat was something special. And I think he, if the unfortunate things didn't happen, he might still be coaching the team today. He was just that, I felt ingrained in the system. What was your take on playing with him?
Well, my two favorite coaches pretty much growing up were Brian Kilry when I played junior in Ottawa 67s and Pat Burns obviously with the Devils. And I actually was with Pat briefly when I was training camp with the Leafs, when he was the coach of the Leafs. So I had a little bit of a brief taste of his personality and what he was all about as a coach. And funny enough, that Brian Kilray and Pat Burns are really good friends, and they were just hard-nosed guys. And I think it was kind of a good compliment to me in the type of style of player that I was. Burns was just a hard nose. He was a biker type dude. He rode his bike. He drank beer, and he cussed, and he demanded respect. He demanded to play as hard as you can for each other. And to me, I think that's kind of I think along the same type of mindsets. Minus, I don't ride a bike, but fortunately, a while, and I do like my beer. So. He was just a great hard-nosed coach. He demanded that you play hard, and if you did that, then that's all he could ask for. And I know sometimes a lot of coaches, they say those things, but not all the time they necessarily mean it. They maybe expect a little bit more or whatnot. But he truly was that type of guy. You play hard for him. You come to play, and you show no fear, and you do it for the team. And he's going to love you. And I think he was just he was great for me. And he was just a really good dude, and he was tough. You didn't cross him. He was just a perfect type of coach that we needed for the type of players that we had in our team.
Did you have any good Pat Burns kicking butt stories in practice? Anyone in particular that sticks out in your head?
Not overly, but I remember when I got traded, and then the next morning in pregame skate, we were playing the Atlanta Thrashers in Atlanta, and it was my first practice with the team. And I remember doing a drill. We were coming around, and I think it was like a 2-on-1 drill, and I lost my footing and took the feet right from under him, and I swooped him right up. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not playing. This is not good. Not a good start. But he was great. It was, obviously it was a mistake. He didn't do it, but it was just one of those times like, how could this happen? The first friggin' practice, I'm like, this is not good. But it was, it woke us all up. It made me more aware.
So we have
he was awesome.
We have a question from Jake in our Facebook group. He asked about that Game 5 goal against Tampa Bay in 2003. And he said the pass through Redden's legs to Friesen. He wanted if you remembered that.
Against Ottawa.
Oh, he wrote down Tampa Bay. I don't know why I said Tampa Bay.
That was the game, Game 7 against Ottawa. It was one of those things where, so it was a kind of a good story during the game, near the end of the game. I always tell that we were up 2-1, and then Friesen went down the ice towards the offensive zone to the Ottawa blue line and lost the puck. And just then they transitioned, came back all the way down, and Braddock went down the wing and took a shot and scored on Brodeur, tie the game up. And it was basically a giveaway by not getting the puck deep type of thing by Friesen. So he's coming on the bench, and he's freaking out on the bench, going crazy. And I'm looking at him, and he's swearing. And I asked him what the problem was. I goes, relax. And he goes, I just cost us the game. I screwed up. And I'm like, well, yeah, you screwed up, but do something about it. We're tied. Tied Game 7, going to have a chance to win the Stanley Cup. Going to the Stanley Cup Finals to have a chance to win, play for it. I go, so don't quit, just keep playing. And then so Burns behind me heard me going at it with Friesen, so he asked me what was going on. And I said, well, talk to Friesen. So that was the same type of situation. And he told Friesen the exact same thing. He's freaking out and all that stuff. And Burns said the same thing I did. Well, go do something about it. So what happened a couple of shifts later, it just so happened that I got on the ice, and John Madden got the puck at the blue line, gave me a pass around center ice, I believe, around there. And Friesen ended up jumping on ice, getting on with me. And I brought the puck wide, and I guess the defensemen, they I don't know whether they gave me too much respect or not respect. I don't know which way you want to look at it, but they both came at me. And, I was able to make a pass through the legs to Friesen with a breakaway. He buried it, scored, and he was so relieved. But I remember telling him, because he was my roommate in the playoffs at the time. I remember telling him, I said, listen, the one thing you can never ever do is just quit. You're going to make mistakes. Every shift that you play, you're going to probably make a small mistake, sometimes a bigger mistake, and it's how you recover from that mistake. It really truly shows the kind of player you're going to be, and I think he took that to heart. And it was a good moment. It was a tough moment, but it was a joyous one as well.
Very cool.
Hey, Grant, I was wondering, back before you joined the Devils, back when you were on the Stars, you had a unique experience to play against, what many Devils fans will argue is the greatest line in Devils history, and that's the A line with Patrick Elias and Jason Arnott and Peter Sikora. What was your take, going against those guys?
Well, I mean, it's at the time, we knew every team knows when you're playing against the other team that who their main guys are, and what you kind of try and have to do to nullify. The problem was that New Jersey had more than just that line. That was, when you got Gomez, you got the McGillney, all these guys, defense and all that stuff. So they had so many weapons, and of course, defense Mark Brodeur. But with that, the question more with that line, it was just they just complimented each other quite a bit. With the size of Arnott, the things that he could do, and I knew Jason a long time before. It just knowing what he brought to the table with his size and obviously the skill set with Sikora and Elias, how close they were together. Even knowing laterally off the ice how well they were, you could tell how good they were together as a pair. Together with Arnott on the ice. So it was a line that we knew was going to be tough to handle, and ultimately, they got the winning goal, and it proved to be too much for us. But at the end of the day, you gotta, as good as we won the cup the year before, so we were technically the favorites because we won the cup before. But the Devils were the better team through the course of the season. But frankly, that line played great. The whole team played great, and they outplayed us, and they deserved to win. They were just part of an already dominant team that we were good, but we weren't good enough on that in that time. Your hats off to the whole team, but that line was definitely extraordinary.
Was there like a specific game plan, like hit them hard, or fly back on defense? Was there anything specific for them, or just go at it and hope for the best?
They're just so skilled. They were just so skilled, and their timing, and they knew where they needed to be. They just, at the end of the day, they just complemented each other. They knew what their role was, each of them. Ellis is such a great playmaker, and Sikora was not the physical guy, but he was as well the playmaker. And Arnott was the one that was getting the corners, and with his big body, was able to create plays. And as big as he was also very, very had great hands, and they just complement each other so well, really.
So, not to kind of pull everybody's hopes down, but we need, just to talk about this season that the Devils are going through right now. What would your advice, if you were standing on that bench, if you were on this team, what would your advice be to the Devils players that are going through this kind of rough patch, that are going through a lot of growing pains and find themselves in the bottom of the league?
Well, I mean, it's not the season they want to be, but I would honestly say they own it. Absolutely own it. This is, this is the situation they're in. They put themselves in a situation, but let's also put it in perspective too. This is a second year of a kind of a 3-year build, right? It's sometimes you get a little bit of fool's gold that they made the playoffs last year and they played great last year, and we're all, as fans, it's being part of the team and a fan, it's hopefully the signs up to come the next year, and then going in winning the first 4 games, and people are like, this is it after last year's playoffs, and now we're going to go. I said, just slow the brakes down a bit. It's not fair to these guys. They had a pretty good last year. It's just the 2 years. I think if they're in this situation next year, then I'd be a little bit more concerned. But I would say, listen, guys, own it. you're learning every day, and to some they might be struggling, but don't forget they got a lot of young players. They got a lot of young players. Hall, Hall's the opposite player he was last year, meaning he's hurt. He's hurt this year. He's having a tough time. And I said this before, and hopefully Ratio is good at what he does, but I hope they get some complement players that can also have some secondary scoring, because if you're going to rely on Palmieri and Heischer and Hall, and Hall's hurt, but Hall had the MVP, and he was the MVP last year, you're just going to rely on those three. It's going to be hard. I remember playing in Dallas, and we had, our one line was Brett Hall, Madonna, and Letton, and then our second line was Newendijk and Langenbrunner and either Holt or Reeves. We had two lines mixing and matching. You got to have that. Now, you talk about guys like Coleman, who these guys are complement players that can do somewhat that job, but that's not what they're there for. Coleman is a great player that can do everything really well, but he's not a goal scorer. Wood had a goal today. There's guys that chip in and help out, and that's what you want. But you definitely need to have the two-headed monster lines. I think that's what they're missing, and I think hopefully that they'll hopefully find a way of getting two lines going like that. That really helps, and you get the two lines going like that. And like when we won the cup in 3. We had I'm gonna put my name in there, but only because I was on the line. But it was with Gomez and Elias, and then we also had Langenbrunner and Newendijk as our second line as well, and John Madden's line with Pandolfo, going, and Rob and all these. They're scoring, and then you have Freeze, and so we just had such a mixture of lines that kept rolling over and going, and I don't think they don't have that. And I think they're trying to find that, and they're trying to get as much. Also look at these young guys that are playing, right? Which is a plus. You guys are getting more and more experience, and he's just getting better. And so I would just tell the kids, these guys own it, learn from it, and keep building on it, and knowing that you got to go in every day, getting better and better, and hopefully next year it's going to be hopefully the year that they're going to really start to make some headway.
Now, we have a Facebook question for you from our buddy Eric Burns. He wanted to know if you ever see yourself doing any kind of coaching in the AHL or NHL level.
No, I don't.
That was pretty emphatic.
Yeah, I've been asked a lot. I've been asked at times to coach, especially in New Jersey and stuff. And I do teach private a little bit, and I do things here and there. But I don't. The questions asked about now, if I see me doing it in the future, I don't. I really don't. I don't think it's something I want to do. Obviously, things can change down the road, but I don't foresee me ever getting involved in depth in the coaching in the minor league or the pro level. No.
Hey, Grant, we as Devils fans, we've been watching the season, and it's been tough as we've been talking about it, but there have been positive things that have happened this season, like Blake Coleman's play, like Travis Zajak's continued play, the sudden emergence of Mackenzie Blackwood coming up, Nico Hischier improving. What do you see, as a former player and, someone who's, gone through times like this in the NHL? What do you see as the biggest positives for this team in this tough year?
How did it take? That's a tough one because they've had such a tough year for them this year compared to did last year. I think Palmieri's been great all year. I think he's been solid all year. I don't think he's missed much beat. Especially it's hard when you're missing a guy like Hall in another lineup of injuries, who's such a dynamic player himself. But then you could look at this side of it too. Sometimes it's a good thing for some of the young guys having a guy like Hall, because what does that mean? It puts a little more pressure on Hischier, right? He has to step up and be more that guy, which, I think he will be eventually. He's a stud. He's a young stud that's going to be better as he goes, as he matures. So I really, you got some guys getting out of the lineup playing well. You got young players, like you said, the Mackenzie Blackwood's playing pretty good. He's only gonna get better. Goalies don't really usually start till they get a little later. The days of Berders, you're not going to see too ever much anymore when they're young playing that great, which is okay. But I guess I would have to say the way Palmieri has played all year, and he's sure stepping up with the fact that, with Hall being in and out of the lineup due to injuries at times. And, Hall hasn't had the year he had last year, but he's a phenomenal player. He's a great player, and he's a workhorse. And, they miss him being healthy, there's no question.
I think you bring up an interesting point, too, with Nico. Last year, his rookie year, he produced those points with Taylor Hall. This season, he's on pace to surpass last year's total, and he's doing that the majority without Taylor Hall. So, I think that's a huge positive right there for the team.
It absolutely is, and it's you got to, you have to grow, and you have to grow into yourself and figure out yourself. And you have to go through adversity, and sometimes you have to do things without the help of your other teammates that help ride you along, and that's just the way of growing. And he's going to grow even more. He's not even close to his potential, I don't think. I think he's got another couple of years of really showing what he can really do and getting more comfortable, getting stronger. And that's a huge, big part of it. He has to get stronger, which he will. He's already got the brains. He's got the talent. It's just got to grow and mature, and that takes time. It's not – rebuilds aren't – these kids, the young kids getting all the chance in the lineup. They're not – it's not easy. When we were with the Devils, we didn't rebuild. We always had older players. Now, it was a good thing for us, but then now now you're seeing them. Now they have to start rebuilding because they just never did it for the longest time, and it's just going to take time, and it's frustrating, and it's not fun, especially when it's kind of like that sense when they had last year. They played well. They got into the playoffs, and they obviously played. Look, and it even shows again they losing to Tampa Bay, but look what Tampa Bay is doing this year. That's a mature team. That's a deep team, right? So they were in the same years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, rebuilding. Then they win the cup, and then they had to rebuild, and then they just. You got to draft well. You got to sign the right players at the right times, and it's a lot of luck plays a part too. That's people have to remember that as well. It's a lot of these teams. There's a lot of parity in this game, and they all have the same goal. And it's not the days way back when you had 6 teams that were probably have the best chance of winning every time, and everyone else is just playing for 5th and 6th place. Now you got a lot of teams with a chance to win.
Which is great for the NHL, and it gives cities like Nashville a chance to shine, which is great because, like you were just saying, in the old days, you'd have, your larger markets were the ones that control everything because they had the most money to spend on, the biggest players. And now you have smaller markets, well, quote unquote, smaller markets like Nashville, who are, seemingly competing for the cup every year now. And it's great for the game. And this whole process of rebuilding and what the Devils are going through right now is tough. But I have to ask you, from your point of view, from your perspective as being an alumni and everything else, and do you believe, and I hate to say these words, but do you believe in the tank? Do you believe that what we're seeing is that the team is trying to work their way towards that number 1 overall pick with Jack Hughes, or is that just a coincidence?
Well, no, I don't believe in tank. I don't think that's part of someone's DNA. I don't think it's ever anyone thinks we're going to go in and tanking. And well, they won tonight. I mean, no.
Exactly, yeah.
They came back and won in overtime, the other night. So I don't believe in tanking. Most people understand now the way the system goes. There's a lottery, right? Remember we had the 4th pick or whatever, or 3rd pick, and then we ended up getting the 1st pick. We won the lottery. So we may be dead last this year. We may not even win the lottery. So what's the point of tanking?
Exactly. Right. Exactly. And that's the beauty of the lottery is it protects from teams tanking.
Well, exactly. So no, I don't believe in tanking. I don't think teams do that. I think because it's not just about there's a lot of pride of doing things the right way. We're very, very fortunate to play a great game, get paid a lot of money, and do it in front of all these fans that help pay. Give or get our salaries and all the players' salaries. So it would be very, very disgusting and shameful to want to tank just to try and get the number 1 pick. When that's just trying. The only way you're going to get better is playing hard together, and you still may lose. You know what? You may get the first overall pick through the lottery, get lucky in the lottery, and that's just the way it goes. But I don't believe in tanking at all. I think it's a horrible thing, and I don't think teams do it at all. I don't. I've never heard that. I know people want to believe that because I think fans want, in some ways, they don't want their team to lose, but they also would like to have, if they're not going to make the playoffs. And I was like, well, I really hope we get that player in the draft. And so I hope we lose. I get that. I get when fans get that way, but I can tell you now, players don't do that in the dressing room at all.
Mm-hmm. And it's nice to kind of hear it from your point of view because, there are fans out there that do think that there's, a conspiracy theory that they're like, oh, the coach is putting in the wrong lineup or putting in the wrong players. But like you just said, nobody's going to want to go out there. You don't want to go to your job and underperform in hopes of something better in the future. You go out there and you try your best every night. And if it doesn't shake out, it doesn't shake out. And that's just the way it is. The fact that the lottery is in place to help prevent teams from wanting to tank or wanting to make decisions where they're going to be, putting themselves in that number one overall position. It's an unfortunate season, but hopefully if it does end up being that way, it's just another piece that they could add to the team and building towards the future.
Well, that's just it. That's just one part of it. There's the cap situation. The Devils are in a great situation, the cap situation. So, Shiro's got to spend his money however he sees fit to make the team better, and I'm sure he will in the right way. And you got guys like in the year he should hopefully get them locked up. And there's going to be a decision on Hall, which I'm assuming they'll want to lock him up as well. But these are all big decisions, and they got the money to do it, and they got the draft capital to do it. So it's just a matter of doing it the right way and hopefully getting lucky and hitting on the players that you want.
Do you foresee Taylor Hall being extended during the summer? It was a question asked by one of our friends.
I would hope they would, but I'm not privy to any of that kind of in-depth information. But I would I like Hall as a dynamic player. I mean, the injuries don't help a little bit, but that's injuries are part of the game. But I still think the fact that he's an elite player, he was an MVP last year. So I would assume they will, but they're gonna do it the right time, and they're gonna make sure they're gonna have all their ducks in a row and making sure it's a right fit for everybody moving forward. But I can't see why not. But things change over the course of months, so we'll have to wait and see. I hope they do though. He's a great player.
Mm-hmm.
Grant, before we let you go, it was actually last season during the playoffs, you and I met at Mother's Ale House. I guess the Devils were doing a viewing party. You were there, and you told me, he's like, "Hey, why don't you guys do a live podcast here?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, well we're working on it. Well, March 2nd is about to happen, and you're going to be part of it with us."
And I'm going to be there with bells on. Literally, I might have bells on. I don't know. We'll see.
That's awesome.
You guys do a great job. And I'll be very, very, very proud to be a part of it again and talk some Devils hockey and hopefully get the fans what they want.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks, Grant, for coming on, and we'll see you on March 2nd, okay?
Sounds good, guys. You guys do a great job. Be safe, all right?
All right. Thanks,
Grant.
That is the infamous Grant Marshall. He's a great guest.
He's awesome. I love Grant.
I mean, there's a reason why we've had him on a record 4 times. I mean, he's a regular guest. Aside from Nick Villano, he's a regular guest too. But he is a great guest. And one question I wanted to ask him, actually, because back in the day I used to believe it, but now I think talking about conspiracy theories, don't you hate it when hockey fans are like, well, Gary Bettman wanted it that way?
I hate that the most, but I do love how Gary Bettman has completely embraced being like the heel, like the ultimate heel of the NHL. Like every time he gets booed, he goes, "Come on, bring it on,
get it out." Remember the draft? Yeah. Remember the draft in New Jersey?
Yeah. And,
and everyone's booing him and booing him and booing him. He's like, "You're gonna like this. Yeah, you might want to hear this."
Yeah, Grant is awesome, dude, and I'm really looking forward to March 2nd. It's so much fun hanging out with him in person. Like, he's so knowledgeable, and it's cool to, I want to ask that tank question. Just, I don't think either of us or all three of us ever believe in a team really tanking, especially with the lottery now in place, because it's really not possible. The year we got Nico, Colorado Avalanche were in dead last by a long shot, and they still didn't end up with the first overall pick. So, tanking just doesn't happen anymore. Not like it used to. It did. There was conspiracies of it actually happening, like, when the Penguins got Lemieux instead of the Devils. But it's cool to get his perspective on it, because he's a former player and somebody that, was in the locker room and can tell you, like, these guys don't quit. They don't lace up every night to go out there and crap the bed. You know what I mean? They don't want to do that on purpose. It's just, they lose.
I think that's also, we know that some of these guys on this team right now are not going to be on the team next year. No. We know that they are fringe players and everything like that. But still, this is their opportunity to play in the NHL and either, win play really well and win a spot on the Devils next year, or maybe, impress some other GM and get picked up, through waivers or something like that. So, to say that a team is tanking, like, I get that we don't have like superstars out there, but to say that the players aren't playing, no, it's just their skill level isn't up to, par with some of the other players. That's all. But they're trying, because this is their opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. And if you look at, like, defensive responsibilities of this team is where we've kind of, where the Devils have kind of lost their way, in a sense this year. And it seems like there's been a lot of breakdowns. There's been a lot of injuries. Not having Sami Vatanen, who was our number one defenseman for a very long stretch of time, has definitely hurt this team. And to be honest with you, what pisses me off is when people are screaming from the rooftops, like, Ray Shero didn't do this and didn't do that. This wasn't the draft or the free agent class that he needed to do anything, outside of maybe Calvin DeHaan. And he took a run at a few people, but it didn't work out. And guess what? That's fine. This upcoming summer is going to be, I think, the summer that defines Ray Shero as the GM of the Devils, because there's a lot of decent names that are going to be out there that can help with that secondary scoring that Grant alluded to before. There's going to be a lot of moves depending on where they shake out in a draft. If they end up with that 1 to 3 position, hell, this is probably one of the deeper drafts in a while. You have Jack Hughes, Capo Caco. There's a couple other guys. I know that name. It's a fun name to say, but there's like at least 4 or 5 guys at the top of this draft that are good enough, players that you can plug them into the NHL next year. And it's an exciting draft. It's an exciting, unrestricted free agent class. So this is going to be the summer that he, I think, finally spends the money and finally pulls this team together, extends Hall and all that kind of crap.
It's going to be an exciting time, especially for Devils fans. We should have a big New Jersey horns up, because we should be excited. Because there's going to be a lot of changes to our team. There's going to be a whole new core group of young players that we're going to watch grow up, and we're going to get to see all these good times with. And they're going to make, a lot of new memories at the Rock, of some playoff runs. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but, soon. We're going to be a really, really talented team, and we're going to jump up. And I think we're on the right path. Like I said, and like you were talking about, we're not going to be good this year when the best player for our team at every spot is hurt. Our best offensive player is Taylor Hall. He's hurt. Our best defensive player is Sami Vatanen. He's hurt. Our best goalie is Mackenzie Blackwood, and he's in the AHL. So, we're not going to win when we don't have any of our best players. We kind of lasted, when Taylor went down, we still had Sammy for a little while. But obviously he was getting burned out and he was hurt. So, we all see how that ended up. But we lasted a little bit. But once both of them went down, it was just, that's it. You know, we don't have that defensive depth right now. You know, once Ty gets it going next year, you know, it's going to be a different story.
And that is another thing, is because there is a lot of between Ty Smith, Riley Walsh, and even Davies, who's been making a lot of headway this year. We have 3 defensive prospects in our system that are making some big moves and and putting up some numbers and actually looking like they can be the next generation. You have Riley Walsh and Ty Smith, who are rated as being the top within the top 10 of the prospects or defensive prospects for the NHL. Dude, that's huge, having 2 of the top 10. Yep. And I mean, you have a lot of people are saying, well, Riley Walsh and Butcher is a kind of a same kind of defenseman. I disagree. I think that Riley Walsh's game is a little bit different than Butcher, and I think Butcher is having a little bit of a sophomore slump this year, but is still rounding out to be one hell of a defenseman. Dude, there's a lot of bright patches that are in the future of this team. It's just like right now, you gotta really go through this muck of a season to just kind of like look forward to what the heck we have on our horizon. Between the prospects, between everything else that there could be out there. I mean, this season's gone, but look, the future is going to be so much more fun, so much more exciting. You just hope that Corey or Blackwood can hold the mantle next year.
Think of it also with Butcher, same way that when we were talking with Grant about Nico. You know, he's doing all this year without Taylor Hall. Butcher does not have a lot of support on defense. You know, he doesn't really have. I mean, Severson has probably been our next best defenseman all year. You know, and I think Damon does good, but he's also, he does commit some breakdowns. You know, so it's tough. And you think about it the same way. Nico doesn't have that support from Taylor Hall to lean on right now, but he's still performing. I think Will Butcher, without all that support, he's been thrust up into a defensive role, not an offensive defenseman, but not in that type of role, but I mean in a defensive, standpoint where he may not be ready yet, and it's been tough for him, but I still think that he has been, a positive on this year for Will Butcher. Tough, but positive.
And let's not forget some of the guys that we have also in the system that, Boquist, who's going to be a beast. I think that kid's got a ton of upside. And when he finally makes it to the NHL, he's going to make a statement in the NHL. Him and his brother are very good, but I think that his brother kind of like outshines him a little bit. But I feel like he is going to be a huge player. And if you watch if you go on Twitter and you can watch a lot of like the highlights from what he's doing this year, he had a goal the other night, and his swag on the ice. I know that's kind of like a weird thing to say, but he was like looking up at the crowd and like doing the Hulk Hogan like can't hear you thing.
I love it
to the opposing. I knew you would.
Yeah,
but doing that to the opposing crowd, and I'm like, this kid is going to be an absolute beast when he gets to the NHL. I just have a good feeling about him. And then like you see a lot of these guys that you need to have as your core group, like the Joey Andersons, and you hope that he can, when he broke his ankle, I was so pissed because I felt so bad because I have so many high hopes. And then don't forget, Mikey McLeod.
By the way, since Grant is the four-time, I guess, is he officially the first member of the Four Horsemen of the Let's Go Devils podcast?
That's right. We got to do like what they did in SNL. We got to get him to Let's Go Devils podcast robe like they did in SNL.
He's the Ric Flair. He's the Ric Flair of these Four Horsemen.
That's right.
I did see an early picture of Grant, one of his prospect pictures with the blonde hair from the 90s.
Yep.
That's right.
I was like, oh. I didn't want to break that up though.
Look at the comments. Jake Wakely, just like Mike McLeod, LOL. Facepalm. David Holiday, facepalm on McLeod. Yeah. Barely scoring, and the eggshell is terrifying me.
They got there's a couple good offensive prospects at AHL right now. McLeod, he's not putting up the goals. got a lot of assists, but I still say that his future's bright.
Listen, his future's damn bright. All right. and by the way, I wouldn't be shocked. Don't be shocked if next season, depending on how it shakes out, but next season, if you don't see Brian Boyle coming back to the Devils,
that's a possibility.
He had a lot of very interesting things to say after the season, and it kind of looks like it might be trending that way. But which I would love, by the way. Yeah, I think he was a huge addition to this team, and
great locker room guy too.
100%.
So Jake is requesting that we bring Amanda Stein or Ray Shuro onto the podcast.
We'll bring both.
Okay. All right, let's do it.
I would be nervous with Ray. I wouldn't know what to ask.
I would be like, I'd be cool as a cucumber.
Oh, I got tons of questions. I'll ask Ray. Yeah, let's do it. I'm ready.
Yeah, I'd be like, do you tell the team to play extra hard when we play the Penguins this year? Because man, I don't understand what it is. Whenever we play the Penguins, we like obliterate them.
Do you have a fish tank in your office? In the back.
Are you a fan of General Patton?
Yeah. Have you had your septic tank have the annual cleaning, Ray? Thinking.
How many times can you say tank in like one sentence?
Tank in there, yeah. I just want to say a big, thank you to all the Devils fans out there. I'm watching the games out here on the NHL app, in LA, and even though we're having a bad season, it still looks like the place is, full, with a lot of people having a good time and making noise. I hear everyone singing songs, Don't Stop Believing, even though the music goes off, everyone keeps going for a verse or two. It's really awesome hearing the fan support over there. I miss going to games. You know how many games we used to go to together, Scott? I used to go to like 20, 25, 30 a year, so that's one thing I miss about being out here on the West Coast.
I do have to say this. What is it like watching a game? I mean, football is way different. You're watching a football game at like 10 in the morning, which blows. But what is it like watching a game at like 4 o'clock and having it end at like 7?
It depends. I mean, there's a lot of times I just start it late. Like by the time you're in the third period, I'll start it. It's like 6 o'clock over here, and then I could like skip through commercials and stuff like that. But I mean, a lot of times I'm still at work, so I've sent you pictures. I'll every now and then. I hope my boss isn't listening, but I'll just have the game up there on the TV in the office, and it's fun. I like that. My Devils and my Mets be playing there. Like 4 o'clock starts. It's nice.
Season of disappointment.
Oh, I know. And the Giants. Wait,
you're a Mets fan?
He's a diehard Mets fan.
I'm a Mets fan too. Yeah. I'm a Mets fan too. Shorts guy's a Mets fan. Yeah, Shorts guy's a Mets fan.
So we actually outnumber. Okay, I like it. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to go to a game when I'm back on the East Coast.
I had no choice as being a Yankee fan. Like my choices as a kid were like the Yankees, Giants, and Devils, and that was it. And there was no like other. It's kind of like what I'm doing to my kids. Like they have no choice. Once they get older and they have like their opinions, going to be like, your opinions matter to me, except for when it comes to sports. Then you don't have an opinion.
Yeah, me. It was my grandfather that influenced me on Mets, and then the Devils. And then I could. Thank God I didn't turn out to be a Cowboys fan like my dad.
I don't think I would be friends with you.
We should also try to get Erica Wachter on. I did attempt. She did say she'd come on, but I have to go through the red tape called MSG Networks.
Okay.
Just tell them maybe like we do. We had Doc Emmerich and Chico Resch and all these other guys.
We had Cangelosi.
We had Cangelosi on.
Yeah.
We should get Steve back before the year's out.
Oh yeah, I would love to talk to Steve. That was one of my favorite.
Should be great.
Interviews, just because like Steve was one of those guys that you give him like a subject, and when he starts talking, it's like listening to a book on tape. Like you just sit back and you're like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like Chico, when he was talking last week, when he was talking, oh, Scotty, I was so upset that you couldn't be on for that one. But when Chico was talking about, when he was talking about like it's just like going through stories and talking about whatever he's talking about, and it's just you sit back and you're just like, man, like I love that. I love listening to people talk about like when Grant's talking about like days that whole shift with Friesen. That stuff is so cool to hear.
Another very underrated player in Devils history.
Jeff Friesen?
Yes. Deserves more respect. He was always clutch on the team. Always clutch on the team. And by the way, did anyone hear Kanji's call for Corey's win the other night?
Oh, that was amazing.
Yes.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Nico!
Spell relief.
Nico!
Spell relief.
Yeah. C-O-R-Y! Man, he was loving that. He was loving
it. Was it relief because he came in relief, or is it relief because he finally got a win?
You know what? I didn't even think about it like that.
A little bit of both.
I didn't even think about that, and I don't even know if he meant to say that. But that's, hey, there you go. He's a wise man.
That's right.
Wow, it sounds like a Rolaids commercial. Get Rolaids relief by RJW Barnabas Health. We're getting ready for that Mother's Ale House event, March 2nd.
I gotta start.
Grant Marshall. Yeah, we got to start preparing for that. But from here on out, I mean, we got the trade deadline. Are we going live on trade deadline?
We'll discuss that.
Yeah, we'll discuss that.
We'll figure out what day that is and what time that is.
We'll figure it out. If Jake Wakely wants Amanda Stein, we'll get Amanda Stein.
And Jake, you're supposed to call in, man. Maybe we'll do that fan call-in show again.
Well, we tried. We tried. I think I messaged Jake. Hey, here's your chance. And he wasn't around.
We'll do it. We'll get you on soon, Jake. Don't you worry.
Well, do you know who's going to be at the event? Bobby's Auto Care. You see the red hat? Bobby's
I thought you were wearing one of those terrible red hats.
Terrible red hats?
Terrible.
Terrible.
Horrible.
It's Bobby's Auto Care. Eric,
best auto care around.
Yeah, we expect Eric Burns to be there with M&Ms.
I need to get. I actually need to get my oil changed, so maybe I'll go over to Bobby's Auto Care and get that done.
Look at that.
Yeah, I'm actually going there 8:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. To Bobby's Auto Care oil change,
and we should probably get Jersey Joe onto the podcast one of these. Oh my God, I forgot to mention this. I met somebody today, and I was at Lowe's picking something up to fix in my house, and I bumped into a guy. He's like, "Hey, Devils fan, blah blah blah," because I'm always wearing Devils gear, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm a part of the 334." So I got his contact info. Yeah, I got his contact info. We talked for a little bit. He's like, "Yeah, I was 18 years old. We were doing donuts in the parking lot." He had such a cool story. He's a nice dude too. I was like, we got to get this guy onto the podcast.
We put a call out for 334 Club. 5 people have responded, and I'm saying that guy too. We have 5.
This guy I think is going to have some awesome stories. He was like, "Yeah, I was 18. It was awesome." He's like, we didn't realize it's a big deal until like way later on, and he was like, it was insane. Like he goes, I got a 4-wheel drive pickup truck, and we said, screw it, we're going to the game, and we ended up going and blah 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 blah, and we're sitting there talking, and he goes, yeah, after the game we're doing donuts in the parking lot and stuff. I was like, yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Awesome. All right, I think we should cut out, right? I think it's towards the end of the podcast.
I think it's time.
All right, well, we'd like to thank Grant Marshall for coming on to the Let's Go Devils podcast for a record 4 times. Going to be 5th time, 5 times on March 2nd. Like to thank the Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter, Periscope for chiming in. The most commented Devils podcast in the history of New Jersey Devils podcasts. Also like to thank Jake Wakely because he needs a little special attention.
I love you, Jake.
He needs to be coddled.
No, he doesn't.
He's a Devils fan that needs to be coddled. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Those are just jokes. But expect more podcasts in the next 2 weeks. Scotty, thank you for coming on. We'll talk later. Beer Baron.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Shorts guy, you gotta tone down your excitement. We can't have too much excitement on the podcast. It was just too much excitement. He got a 10-minute game misconduct. Got thrown off the podcast at the last second. Sorry, bro. Sorry. Anyway, thank you to Bobby's Auto Care, Nova Product Design, and Mother's Ale House for sponsoring this podcast. Till next time, Devils fans, let's go Devils.
Food for thought. There was a Devils guy at the last 3 Canucks games